13 love, 13 knowledge, 13 wisdom, 13 respect. This is your Creation 13. So today, I was just looking at and self-reflecting on life and faith and compassion, right? What are these two concepts in life and looking at in your life, right? Because I've been talking about a lot about faith and then talking a lot about blind belief, right? Believing in something but not knowing what's real or true. Faith is a religious term as well, but you have faith, strength, and hope that things work out at the end of the day, right? And then compassion comes from a state of balance, right? It's understanding people and their emotions. It's also understanding yourself and your emotions, and then balancing them out within your life. The world really, really tries hard to distract you into forgetting these two concepts of faith and compassion. And if you don't apply any of those in your life, you're going to be running on autopilot. And I've noticed that on so many levels of running on autopilot, right? People don't like to slow down. A lot of times people are scared to slow down because they actually have to deal with their situations. They have to deal with their past, with stuff they haven't learned to heal and let go. They have to deal with themselves. That's ultimately one of the hardest things to do, is to deal with yourself. And then you got to help others or deal with others, right? Maybe you have friends that are alcoholics or drug abusers. I even have people online that they have to take care of their brother, or maybe they went to war. They're in the army, and then they got a lot of trauma from that. So whether they hear fireworks outside and they think it's a big battle outside, there's a lot of trauma that happens that scars you. So you forget about compassion and you forget about faith because you're haunted by the past. And it's so very interesting making these videos because it grows as you talk about it. So you get haunted by the past. And what are you supposed to do with the healing, right? This has been definitely a road that I've been traveling on, researching deep words, realizing, that the word God, right? The word God was created to hide all of these deities that have different job codes, different descriptions, whether they talk about the planets, they talk about star constellations, or even mythological characters. They're all in the Bible, and it blows my mind. But if you're not looking for it, you won't know. And we're accustomed to that word, which is God, right? And so many interpretations, infinity amount of interpretations of what God can be, right? And I've expressed, that you can utilize what Christ said. I am the way, the truth, and the life. Heaven is within you. The Father is within you. God is within you. And when you just sit back and just really absorb what that represents, it's creation, right? Creation is within you. Creation is outside of you. And there is so much involved in creation, right? Um, it's teamwork. There's a lot of teamwork elements in creation, not just a single source, right? Um, because if we view it as living in one host, well, that would be a pretty loud, right? If you just imagine if you live inside one entity, that's pretty loud uh, inside that you have, right? Um, just imagine having an infinite amount of beings, deities within you, having all these conversations all at once, right? It goes back to the story of Enki and Enlil, which is in the Bible, on how one wanted to destroy humanity because they were so noisy, but the other one wanted to see how they evolved, right? See how they evolved and would they mature and become little creators, little creators that can manifest, right? There's so many little words that I've been learning, and I got to do some research on it. But I forget who it was. I think his name is Billy Carson. I could be wrong on that, but he was talking about human and how hue means light, and then man means manifestation, right? So you gotta think of like God created the heavens and the earth, and then God created mankind, or the creators created manifestation, right? The creators created light to manifest. And it goes into a lot of things because what is light? What is light? Particles. And then you go into matter, right? It talks about water, but it's matter. What is matter? And then you go into dark matter, right? And dark matter is the glue that holds all the matter together. And the light is what manifests into objects, right? It's all these little molecules that form. It goes into beings that oh gosh, what is that word? Morph, transmutate. I can't think what it is. Oh man. But where you can just shape things like sand, like Play-Doh. You can mold things together, and that's what light matter and dark matter is. And you can do that through understanding manifestation, right? And this gets really deep on a lot of levels. But bringing all that into play, going back to faith and compassion, that's what we're doing, is learning how to express, manifest our desires, but we can't produce that if you're not balanced, if you're always running on autopilot and questioning all of these things, and then going back into the God element and forgetting about yourself, right? And the importance of you. I'm very big on remembering the importance of you and bringing that up because there are so many people who don't, right? It just seems like it's some kind of trigger mechanism or some kind of virus that triggers within you that tells you that you're no good, and you have to use these elements of that you're no good, but God loves you and Christ loves you, right? You got to look at the psychology behind it, right? I've been studying psychology and reverse psychology for at least a good 10 years. Right, started learning about it in 2010 and then really starting to master it and pay attention to how it works, right? And it's a psychology thing of utilizing your weakness to push an agenda, whether it be a religion or something like that, um, and you totally forget about yourself. You totally forget how to heal in the process of that, right? And I know it can be done because I'm proof of it, right? That you can build the strength and confidence you need to continue, but you are going to have to deal with reality of life as well, and it's starting to find the balance in it, and it's quite difficult. There's a lot of things, desires. That's why I said Christ has been teaching me about desires. There's a lot of desires that you would like to manifest, but it doesn't always play out that way, right? It doesn't play out that way. And I've questioned that. I've talked with Christ about that. I'm like, hey, can you please let me know what you want me to do, right? You know, how can I get to where I want to go? And if I don't need to go there, let me know so I'm not wasting my time. Because time is precious, right? Every moment matters. You know, I had a decision to either make a video or relax and play a video game or read a comic, right? It's little things and choices and decisions that you have to make every day because you only have so much time in the day. There's so many possibilities that you can do in a day. It's infinite, and it just depends on what you want to experience and encounter. Me and my daughter were outside last night, and we were wanting to have encounters, right? We were speaking in tongues or speaking the language of the Spirit, right? My daughter was, I was, and we were looking for communication. And we ended up seeing pretty much in the same area, they would just kind of just pop up. These look like moving stars would pop up, but they were very intelligent. They were unique, and they were communicating. And there was one where I was like, all right, how can we have a better encounter when they show up? Like, how can we bring them down, right? So I'm like, hey, judge my heart. And it's so funny because I asked it to judge my heart, and all of a sudden it ended up, because my daughter was like, wow, this one's like really bright. And it flashed. It literally just got really bright and flashed. And I'm like, oh my gosh, it actually is judging my heart. And my daughter's like, that's an angel. Like, come back, angel. And it was a beautiful moment, right? And it's unknown. Like, what is it? What are we communicating with? But it communicated back, and that's the little things that you pay attention to because you ask for it, and something manifests, right? It listen to whatever it is, right? It's really hard to say what reality is, but it definitely has imagination elements to it. It definitely has the manifestation process, whether it happens slowly or fast. They're there, but you still have a story you play in it all. And it's not always the way you plan it, but it's paying attention to how it's being played out, right? If you watched all my videos or just have been watching me, you'll see a pattern, and a lot of the stuff I talk about brings back to you, and it's stuff that you need to pay attention to about the reality of things and how things are at play, and that there's a lot more going on than just a single source. There's a lot going on than just a single source. There's so much magic and alchemy that goes on behind the scenes in our reality, right? It goes into light matter, dark matter, the formation of things. I don't know why I can't think of what that word is called. All I can think about is morphing, right? Morphing into different shapes. But at the end of the day, um, with faith and compassion, it's learning how to have compassion with yourself and maturing. Um, I always help people look at that, be like, hey, don't forget about you. Um, find the balance, right? Christ is my rock, my foundation, the deity I turn to, right? For questions, for answers, because that's what they're there for. What did Christ say? Christ said he only talks to the Father. That was his deity, right? Looking at the perception of that, how does that look? Moses was talking with God. What was it? It was a deity that Moses was being helped with as a guide, right? It's not just a single source, it is for you, right? Just like it says up here, John 14:26, where it says that I send an advocate, an advisor, a deity, a guide to you. As soon as your spirit, your soul enters the little egg, right? The little formation where the sperm is starting to turn into a body. The spirit goes in there, and then the deity and guardian manifests itself right next to your mother, right? And then that deity is there to guide you through life, right? Um, and it makes so much sense when you go to church and you learn about God and Christ, the parent and the child, right? And then you're a child, and that deity is the parent helping you. And when you're a child, you can see these deities. You can see a lot of amazing things, but the world will deprogram you to think that you're crazy or that you're talking to imaginary things. But yet you go to church, you come home, you talk to angels and God. It's that psychology game again. It's learning on bringing back these elements. That's what we were doing outside last night with me and my daughter. Is we were just listening, observing, and we would hear little things outside. There's a lot of grasshoppers outside, so I kept telling my daughter, I'm like, there's a lot of grasshoppers, so we have to debunk a lot of the noises because there's grasshoppers all over the place. But there was a couple times that we would hear a little tap, or it sounded like rocks were being thrown. Not at us, but it's just like there was stuff that was interacting with us, and we were just being observant and listening to those things. So it's just those little things of how deep do you want to go in your exploration and things like that. And there's so much more I want to talk about. But at the end of the day, study compassion and faith in your life. Write down again your strengths, your weaknesses. I'm so very big on that, is writing down your strengths and weaknesses and fixing those weaknesses and turning them into your strengths, right? Mastering those weaknesses. One of the biggest things that Christ was teaching me last year, it's almost been a year now, was the process of fear, learning on just the jobs of all of these deities that are pretty scary, right? Learning about the old hag and how she goes and collects souls when people are passing away, right? Pretty scary stuff. I sensed it. I saw it through my third eye, right? Your psychic eye, and it's in the Bible, right? Eyes all over, right? Just you have to look at these things, right? Eyes all over. So when you go through meditation or just have a thought, right, you have eyes that are looking everywhere in creation. Again, another video. There's just so much to talk about. But Christ was really showing me the deep roots of fear and the deities behind it. But going outside last night and then just really reflecting on the experiences, listening to my friend True Seeker and his wife, and listening to their encounters, and then judging the heart, right? That was something I told whatever that was, a deity, a ship, or whatever it was, to judge my heart, is paying attention to that. So, yeah, outside in the dark, there's a lot going on, right? But if you renew your mind, there's a lot of magical things out there too. There's a lot of deities that are good and want to help you. And there's something that really came up that I want to make another video on. That was just really beautiful, and I never even thought about it until today. So I'll talk about that probably next video, because it really blew my mind and gave me a whole different perception on the nighttime, but as well as the daytime, and just looking at different time frames that deities show up, different time frames of manifestation, different time frames to work on yourself, then also work outside yourself as well. So there's all these elements, right? Man, just very, very interesting. So yeah, so at the end of the day, a lot of info in this video. Hopefully it helps you in some way, shape, or form. Yeah, there's just so much beauty in things, and sometimes you have to push everything aside, everything that you've been taught, right? And sometimes, like I said, and even Christ will tell you, don't put any idols in front of you, right? Because they distract you. They keep you away from self-discovery, right? And it takes a lot of compassion, a lot of maturity, to not even look at yourself as an idol either, but really becoming confident. I don't like that word a lot because it says con, but becoming confident in your life, and taking ownership in your life, because responsibility is big, and you're the one running the suit. Christ, if that's your chosen deity, is there to guide you, but you still got to make choices at the end of the day, right? So just do a self-reflection on that. Look at ways to strengthen your confidence in your life, love and compassion for yourself and for others, and learning how to find the balance in it all. Not just putting a creator above you because you're a creator, but it's learning from a creator into a lower creator and becoming a higher creator, right? Because we're all creating at the end of the day. And, there's a lot of trigger words, right? Because that word God is so well known, but misunderstood because of how it's used, and with it being used, covered up so many deities that could help people today, because their job codes are told in the Bible. It's just you cannot see it. And it's frustrating, and it's hard to talk like that because it instantly triggers people, and they're like, oh, he doesn't like God. That's not what I said. It's that that word has hidden a lot of helpers that could be helping you in your life, and not generating an idol that um, that the churches throughout the centuries have taught people to do, right? To forget about the importance of you, um, and that's definitely the psychology game that they have been playing all along. So it's finding that balance at the end of the day. So love yourself, keep shining bright, have compassion for others, be an inspiration to yourself and to others. Make sure you spend time with your guardian, your guide, your deity. Christ is mine, could be yours. But spending time with that deity. And when you start practicing that, right, whether you want to call it an angel or whatever, um, it's a companion in your life. And when you realize it's a companion in your life, phew, you begin to really see things in a different perception. So I'm going to end it on that because I'm going to keep talking. So love yourself, keep shining bright. I'll talk to you later.